Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this fourth series of lectures and discussions on Chatursloki Bhagavatam. Today we'll start. So that is, the verses are from Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 9, verses 33 to 37. We're going to cover these 4 verses over next 4 days, starting from today. So before starting, we'll recite the Mangalacharan. Om Agyana Tivrandhasya Gyananjana Shalakro Metam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsham Shri Rupam Sagrajat Sadhana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Swadvaitam Savadutam Pregana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shagana Lagita Shri Vishakanitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvasya Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patithanang Pavanebhyam Vaishnavebhyam Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today's verse is 2.9.33. So this 4 verses are called Chatursloki Srimad Bhagavatam, from Chatursloki Srimad Bhagavatam, because the importance of these 4 verses they present the content and context of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we know that Srimad Bhagavatam it itself, the summarization of all the Vedantas, all the Upanishads, all the Purans, everything has been summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam. And these 4 verses are the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it actually then emphasizes the importance of these 4 verses. And I would like to go through this, and within whatever capacity I have, I would like to share whatever realization that I have on these 4 verses. So we'll start by reciting the first verses from this Chatursloki. Before I start, I seek blessings from all the senior devotees, and also forgiveness if I may say anything which is not appropriate. So the first verse, 2.9.33. Aham eva sameva kre nanyat yatsat asat param Paschat aham yadeta cha yavishisheta swasmi aham. The translation of the verse. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That is, that which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So, Brahma is, the Lord is here giving the knowledge to Brahma, the first created living being of this universe. So the scene here is like how the scene got set in this chapter, that Brahma, he appeared in this on this lotus petal, on the lotus flower, and he is completely perplexed. He doesn't know where he came from, nor have any remembrance. It's quite dark, that place, and he actually was trying to understand that what's happening. So there are a few questions that which is appearing in Brahma's mind at that point of time. Like, to start with, like, who he was, trying to understand that, who he was, then where he came from, and why he was there. So he tried to try to find out various ways of finding answer of these three questions, but he couldn't. And in that moment of, where he's completely perplexed and couldn't even have any kind of um, direction. We, all of us, have this kind of feelings at some point of time in our life, where it just feels like, everything is completely disconnected. But here we are seeing that Brahma just appeared there and he couldn't figure it out. So then what he did, that from, he was sitting on this lotus flower, and then he tried to go down from that. So he got hold of the stem, and he's trying to go down. So, and it was like completely pitch dark, so he couldn't see anything. And he tried going down, and he tried, but he couldn't. After going down for a while, he just thought that he doesn't know where he's going. Like, without direction, it was very hard. If you don't have a direction and you just keep going, there are so many doubts, so many uncertainties just creeps up in our mind. So similar thing happened to Brahma. So he thought that it's better that I go back to that position where I appeared, rather than I keep trying to go down, because I don't know where I will end up. So Brahma, in that sense, again came back to that position, and at that point of time, he could only hear the sound of the waves. And we know the context that where he is actually, right? It has been explained that he's in the causal ocean, Karnadaksha Vishnu. From the navel of the Karnadaksha Vishnu, there is this lotus flower came out, and on top of that lotus flower, Brahma appeared. So we know that. So that's why the Brahma was listening to that sound of waves, and the sound was like tapa, tapa, tapa. So it's like sometimes when you go to the beaches, you can hear that when the waves comes and they just come and crash on the beaches, there is some sound, and that sound appeared to Brahma as tapa, tapa, tapa. So tapa is meditation and penances. So Brahma, then what happened? That he did tapasya. So he just went into deep trance and meditation, and it's he from his inside. It actually came from his inside that yes, you should do the meditation to actually find out that where the answers that you are looking for. You tried until now, you tried to do all these external activities. It didn't give you any answer. So now you should try internally. So meditate. So these are the voice that was coming. And then Brahma did meditation. And then what happened? The Lord appeared. So this is the where it started, and then the Lord is giving, and after that, Lord appearing and giving the knowledge to Brahma, and this knowledge is a very confidential knowledge. So that's why in these verses, like the previous three verses actually set the platform, and this verse from 33 to 37 is actually the Samamboram of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is, it sets, as I said, the content and the context. If we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also there is Chatursloki, that is in chapter 10, verse number 8 to 11. So we see that in that 4 verses, Krishna explained his identity, his position, and how he needs to be worshipped. So in those 4 verses, the Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan, that totally have been explained by Krishna. And after that, we see that Arjuna accepted Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Before that, Arjuna obviously, accepted Krishna as Guru. But after that, he accepted Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that emphasizes how important those verses are. So similarly, in these 4 verses, it sets up the content and context of Srimad Bhagavatam. If we see Srimad Bhagavatam, that in the first, it starts with the discussions between the sages and Sutta Goswami, right? At the Naimisharanya. So there, the sages are asking questions to Sutta Goswami, and that is one conversation, and then within that there is another conversation, and that is the most important and that is most famous one, which is the conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. And within that, the conversation and the Sukadeva Goswami's narration is about all the pastimes of the Lord and Lord's devotees. So that's how it has been, the content of Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's how we see that in these 4 verses that also has been explained. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, that's how it has been explained, that first it started with the discussion, the questions, and then it's explained the whole pastimes, everything. So it basically gave the description, like the biography of the universe via all these pastimes. So if we come to this verse, the first verse of Chatursloki Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord is giving the first one. The Lord is saying that Brahma, if I read the purport translation again, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So basically, Krishna was, Krishna is, and Krishna will always be there. So that sets the context. So Krishna, before this creation, Krishna was there. During this creation, after the creation, during the maintenance, Krishna is there, and then when the annihilation will happen, and after the annihilation also, Krishna will be there. So Krishna will always be there. And that's how to understand that Krishna's position is outside the realm of this material world, of this universe. So that's why it's very hard to understand by our calculation, the material calculation, or any kind of chronological kind of study that we want to do. And if we want to understand, if we want to put down Krishna's present in there, it will be very hard, because he is out of all these kind of calculations. So That's why we start, by understanding. We get this knowledge, like what Krishna gave to Brahma, and then from Brahma, as in the parampara, we receive this knowledge through our gurus, and that receiving starts with faith. So from faith, the first step, and then it comes to surrender. So when we surrender, and then that knowledge, so with faith we get this knowledge, and when we surrender, that knowledge actually then transform, that gyan then transform into vigyan, applied knowledge. So that's why the knowledge that the Lord gave to Brahma, that knowledge is coordinated with realization. So, and how the realization comes from? It comes from devotional service. So that without devotional service, that knowledge doesn't get it just remains as a theoretical knowledge. It's only when someone apply that through devotional service, then only it happens like Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. So when the knowledge that appear in the heart, Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. So it's important to understand that what's the difference between the Divya Gyan and Gyan. The Gyan is just we have we have all the facilities to have Gyan, but if we don't apply that, whatever the knowledge that we are getting, so the first thing, and it's also kind of very interesting that we see that from Brahma's position, that he was trying to find the answers of those questions that was bewildering him at the beginning, where he was perplexed, and he tried so many things, and also when he tries to went down, right, and he was trying to went down, and he was trying to find for answers. So Brahma's life's journey is actually like a mirror to our life journey, right? So we also born in darkness. That's why our prayers start from Om Agyana Tividam Dhasya Jnananjana Shalakya. So we also born in darkness, and from that darkness we are searching for enlightenment. So Brahma is trying to understand that where he was, what is this, he was trying to go down, trying to look at everywhere, but nothing, no direction. But then suddenly when that thing comes from his heart, that he heard that the word tapa, then he started meditating, and through that meditation, that connection happens. The yoga, that connection, when that connection happened, then that knowledge came. And then that knowledge, it's because obviously Brahma was getting directly from the Lord, so that knowledge appeared directly in his heart. So for us, obviously, not very fortunate to have it directly from the Lord, but it's coming through the parampara, and we are having that same knowledge that Brahma did get. But to actually make that knowledge, to make that work for us, we have to actually apply that knowledge through devotional service. So without devotional service, it's not possible. It will be just a very dry philosophical kind of thing that we can take pride on, that look, I know all these verses, I have read all the Vedas and Puranas, but it's like the Gyanis. So what's the ultimate? What's the ultimate goal? Jiver Sarupa Hai Krishna Nityadas. Right? That's what we are trying to, that's we are hoping for, that's what we are praying for. But if we're just getting all this knowledge, then ultimately what happened? And if we don't apply that, and we stuck, and we, at some point of time, we just think that, okay, this is the knowledge, and the knowledge is the God. And somehow or other, we have this mental concoction and all those things, and the Lord is this light, is this effulgence. And that's how, we see all these, Mayavadi theories, everything came from. So, in this verse, that Krishna, in the purport, it's a very long purport. So just going through the purport will take probably half of the class. So I just took a few points of the purport to go through that. And one of the main things that Srila Prabhupada emphasized very elaborately in this purport is about the personal feature of the Lord. The Lord is a person. So the verse started with aham, right? Aham eva sam eva gre. So that word is aham actually emphasizes that Krishna is a person. And if we if it is hard, at some point of time, if we don't have the knowledge, and if you don't, and first you have to have the knowledge, and then you have to apply the knowledge. If you don't apply the knowledge through devotional service, you will never ever will be able to understand the personal feature of the Lord and how Lord as a person interacts with you. You will never ever feel that unless we go through devotional service. Because only through the devotional service, like when we are serving someone, and if someone is not a person, then the interaction will never there. And we all feel that through our heart. That's why we are committing ourselves for this. Because at some point of time we all had that experience, that interaction with the Lord in whatever way. And that's how it actually felt for us that yes, this is something real. This is not like it's not mere philosophy. I have done something, and then the Lord reciprocate in some way, and it happens for different people in a different way. There is no hard and fast rule that we can say that okay, for everyone it will happen like that. No, as per someone's surrender, level of surrender, level of dedication, level of sincerity, it will appear as per that. But when it appears, then we see that okay, the Lord is a person. Srila Prabhupada once said that everyone will eventually will find out that the Lord is a person, because the Lord created this world, the Lord maintaining this world, and the Lord will also he will destroy this world. He will annihilate this world also. But if someone has to wait until that to understand Lord's personal feature, that when he will personally come and he will annihilate this material nature, that will be too late, right? Because of okay, now I find out, okay, you are here to destroy the world, so I now believe you that you are the supreme personality of Godhead, but it's too late. Now it's going to, the material world will be annihilated. What can I do? Can't do much. So that's why that Lord is a very is a very personal, the personal feature of the Lord needs to be we need to understand that. And then we see that for why actually for general masses it's not very easy um, to understand that. First of all, the personal feature of the law, because for that what we are saying that you have to go through, you have to understand the knowledge, you have to surrender to the law, and that's where the problem comes. Like some people said, okay, if I surrender to someone, the general notion in this material world that if I surrender, I will be exploited. And unfortunately, there are there are so many examples that we see that that's what happened. During the Second World War, Hitler killed so many people, right? So after that, when the famous Nuremberg trial was going on, all his generals were saying that, oh, we just killed because he gave us the order. And but the judges there said, no, but he gave the order, right? But you guys had your own free will, you could have understood that that is wrong. Why did you took out those orders? And they said, look, we surrendered to these military rules and all those things, so we had to follow all of them. So people had when they surrendered to something which is for bad cause, it actually came out with a very bad effect, and bad it brought very bad reputation. So people in general very very apprehensive in terms of um, understanding. In terms of surrendering. But that's the thing. We have to make everyone understand that if we surrender to someone who is materially motivated, that will bring out the worst of in us. If we surrender to someone whose only aim is to exploit someone, that will always bring out that will never bring out the good things in us. But surrendering to Krishna will always bring out the good things. That will bring out the best things in us. Because Krishna is he's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the purest of the pure. He surrendering to him, what he is always, he wants, no father wants bad for in obviously Kali Yuga, anything is possible, but um, in every sense that it's not the father never wants for the children to actually go through anything which is bad. So if similarly, Krishna will always Krishna always wants the very best for us. So that's why it's important to understand, and it's important that when we get this knowledge, that how we present it, it's also very important to someone who are coming in this material world. Unfortunately, people mostly having bad experiences rather than good experiences. There are some good experiences, mostly bad experiences. So it's very very hard to convince someone that please just follow this, and this will bring good to your life. It's just people will not just will not take it straight away. But we have all the instruments with us that we can explain to them that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And the context here, in this verse, that he was, he is, and he will always be there. And he is the cause of the all causes. But so it's Krishna, as we discussed before, that Krishna actually, if we have to understand him, from Krishna, the expansion, how it's coming, all the Chaturguhas, Mahavishnus, and then Karadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, Shiradakshay Vishnu, and all this incarnation, how this is happening. If you want to put it in a chronological order, it's very hard because these are not within the realm of our time. So that's why the common question comes, like, that where did God came from? Like the question also, where did God came from? It's like, how it's the same thing that, if someone asks, okay, how to make a square a circle? You can't make a square a circle. It's completely different. It's two different shapes. So similarly, you have to, if you have to find out where did God came from, you will not be able to understand that. That's completely out of our way of understanding, our way of how we measure things, how we put time, time, place, and circumstances. So that's why, most of the time we have these challenges with normal, with the general mass to convince them that the Lord exists. Like, where is the Lord? Just to make them understand that He exists is a big effort. And even then He exists, as a person, that even a higher challenge. Because most of the time it is like, oh, He is just a Lord is there, Lord is in me, Lord is in you, or Lord is just a light. There was a there was a tag that I read that I was an atheist until I realized that I am the God. So that's how things happen. And all this misconception and mental concoction actually have put so much, so much different kind of uh, way of thinking that it's totally convoluted. So that's why here Srila Prabhupada, we see that in this verse, in the purport, that he says about the uh, um, about the personal feature of the Lord. Prabhupada explaining that, I'll just read that. The impersonalist adduces no activity in the Supreme. But in this discussion between Brahma and Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is said to have activities also, and He has His form and quality. The activities of Brahma and other demigods during the maintenance of the creation are to be understood as the activities of the Lord. The king or the head of executive of a state may not have seen in the government officers, for he may be engaged in royal comforts. Yet it should be understood that everything is being done under his direction and everything is at his command. The personality of Godhead is never formless. In the material world, he may not be visible in his personal form to the less intelligent class of men, and therefore he may sometimes be called formless. But actually, he is always in his eternal form in his Vaikuntha planets as well as in other planets of the universe as different incarnations. The example of the sun is very appropriate in this connection. The sun in the night may not be visible to the eyes of men in the darkness, but the sun is visible wherever it has risen. That the sun is not visible to the eyes of the inhabitants of the particular part of the earth does not mean that the sun has no form. So yeah, the different ideas of that, yes, the Lord is not there. If it is not visible, doesn't mean that it is not there. Like that famous Mayavadis, they are saying Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, right? So if it's not Mithya, Jagat is not Mithya, material world is there, but it's temporary. Everything is temporary. Like nothing is there is eternal. So that's the like when Shankaracharya came with this, like with this Mahavedi philosophy. But after that, all the acharyas after that, they said, no, this is not what you said. Like it's not true. Like if you say that in a desert you saw a mirage and you ran there and there is no water, but the water is somewhere some in the planet, right? It doesn't mean that okay, the water is not in the desert. Doesn't mean that water is nowhere in the planet. Water is somewhere there. Someone get mistaken by a snake, by a rope. Okay, they say okay, that is a rope ultimately, but the snake is somewhere, right? So that's why with it's very like um, conveniently sometimes we just put it in a way that okay, I can't see this, so that's why it's not for me. Like it's not there for me, so that's why I don't believe that. But because of this, because of our conditioned nature, and with our all the senses which are also not functional, it's unfaulty. It's very hard to actually understand the full feature of the Lord. And as we don't see it, we just can't say that it is not there. So the next one, um, in the Brihad Aranakya Upanishad, there is a hymn, Atmai Vedam Agra Asit Purusha Vidaha. This mantra indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna even before the appearance of the Purusha incarnation. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.18, it is said that the Lord Krishna is Purushottam because he is the Supreme Purusha. Purusha, transcendental even to the Purushakshara and Purushakara. The Akshara Purusha or the Mahavishnu throws his glance over Prakriti or material nature, but the Purushottama existed even before that. The Brihad Arakya Upanishad therefore confirms the statement of the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person, Purushottam. So we just went through the Purushottam month, and as we read there in chapter 15, um, it's explained there that Krishna, like again in the similar line, that Krishna was there even before, like all the incarnation. It has been explained. Mahavishnu's, like the Karanaksha Vishnu, Gavadaksha Vishnu, before all of them, Krishna was always there. And even after that, like in all the annihilation, Krishna will be there. So it's in a way that his position is absolute and transcendental. Then, in some of the Vedas, it is also said that in the beginning only the impersonal Brahman existed. However, according to this verse, the impersonal Brahman, which is glowing effulgence of the body of the Supreme Lord, may be called the immediate cause. But the cause of all causes, or the remote cause, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord impersonal feature is existent in the material world because by material senses or material eyes, the Lord cannot be seen or perceived. One has to spiritualize the senses before one can expect to see or perceive the Supreme Lord. But he is always engaged in his personal capacity and he is eternally visible to the inhabitants of Vaikuntha face to face. Therefore, he is materially impersonal, just as the executive head of the state may be impersonal in the government offices, although he is not impersonal in the government house. Similarly, the Lord is not impersonal in his abode, which is always Nirasta Kuhakam, as stated in very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, both the impersonal and personal feature of the Lord are acceptable as mentioned in the revealed scripture. This personality of Godhead is very emphatically explained in Bhagavad Gita in connection with the verse Brahmano hi pratisthanam pratistaham, Bhagavad Gita 14 27. Therefore, in all ways, the confidential part of spiritual knowledge is realization of personality of God and not his impersonal Brahman feature. One should therefore have his ultimate aim of realization not in the impersonal feature but in personal feature of absolute truth. The example of the sky within the pot and the sky outside the pot may be helpful to the student for this realization of all-pervading quality of the cosmic consciousness of the absolute truth. That does not mean that individual part and parcel of Lord becomes the supreme by a false claim. It means only that the conditioned soul is a victim of the illusory energy in her last snare. To claim to be both one with the cosmic consciousness of the Lord is the last trap set by the illusory energy or Devi Maya. Even in the impersonal existence of the Lord, as it is in the material creation, one should aspire for personal realization of the Lord. And that is the meaning of Paschat Aham Yat Atachayo Vaishishtave So Smit Aham. So, Srila Prabhupada very emphatically here explained that the personal feature, to understand that Lord's personal features is so important. Um, and the example which has been shared, even if we um, uh, just see that, the example, it's a very practical example that if um, for a head of the state, for a common person, he or she is there, right, and doing all the duties that is required for the state's welfare. Um, but the normal people, day-to-day people, they might not see that person on a daily basis, right? And to these days, because of social media and all those things, they may, but personally they may not have ever contacted with that person, right? But the people who are working in the state office, they are seeing that person every day. They are seeing that person is coming, working really hard every time, coming with different ideas, have vision for how to build the state. But the common people, they are not saying. But is it right for the common people to think that, oh, there is no one there? So, okay, if there is no one there, then how all these things are happening in the state? How all the developments are happening? How all the, and on the other side also, how all the non-developments are happening? Nothing is getting developed, or bad things are happening. So even good things, bad thing, whatever the cause, but someone is doing, someone is there who is doing that, right? Either successfully or not successfully. So in this context here also, this is explained that the Supreme Person of Godhead, he's there, and with his um, with his control, everything is happening, everything is under his control. So there are all these demigods are there who actually have different parts for this material world that they have to manage. So they are doing that, but it doesn't mean that they are the owner of those specific services that they are doing, right? So if we see that Lord Brahma is the creator, but is he really the creator? We see here, the Brahma, he did that creation, but by the providence of the Lord blessed him. Based on that, he did the creation. So Brahma is the Vishnu is the maintainer, and Lord Shiva is the annihilator, right? But they are not part, like Lord Vishnu is not part of the. He's above them, all of them. So although they are all together and doing this service, but for a common man just to say, okay, no, there is no one there, everything is just happening. There was a big bang just happened, and this material world just created, and after by some, like by gravity, we are not, like, falling apart. And then, like, every day the sun is rising, and then the, like, all these vegetations are happening. Everything is happening, but everything is happening in some accordance, like, with something which is there, which is holding up everything. So it's just to understand that. And in that context, there is this very famous, like, story of Einstein. Like Albert Einstein, like, he, one time, what happened that, he has some argument, but he said that all this universe, everything, they've been created by the Lord. And his friend, they said, "Oh, you're such a big scientist. How come you believe in God?" So he said, "Okay, let's see. Like, you come to my house today evening, and we'll discuss about that." So in the evening, he invited them, and he said, "Okay, all of you go to the basement, and I'll just join you shortly." So they went there, in the basement, and then they saw in the basement, there was a table, and on top of the table there was this replica built, like, those replica that probably you have seen in the colleges or in some kind of science shows, that the replica of the universe, like, how it has been built, like, the sun, and around the sun there is all these planets, and there is moon. It's very nice replica has been created, and very precise, like, very, like, it seems like, someone has spent time on that. It's very articulated, it's very nice, it's looking, the colors are perfect, everything. So then when Einstein came down, his friend said, "Wow, such a wonderful creation, like, well done, well done." Einstein said, why are you telling me well done, why are you giving me all these accolades?" His friend said, "No, you have created this wonderful model of the universe." He said, "No, I didn't." Then they said, "What do you mean?" The Einstein said, "Oh, I was just upstairs. I was just sitting there. I was just relaxing. And then suddenly there was a big bang happened. And there was a big noise. And I just ran and came to basement. And I saw on top of the table, this whole creation is there." And they were like, "What? No, you are joking with us, right?" And then he said, "Look, it's just a model, right? And you're saying that it can't be made by some, like, bang or something like that, what you're suggesting. And this whole, and more than that, it requires someone to build it, like, it was precisely. And then this whole thing got created, like, this whole material universe, like, the universe got created, and you think that there is no one behind it, and it just came out just from a bang. And then they, like, they thought, yes, there is something there, which is, like, which probably is not, like, be, like, this is outside our realm of understanding, that we will not be able to understand that. So, like, that, like, that's where we are dealing with. Like, we forget about personal impersonal feature. That is just to prove the existence of God. And then when there is existence, then actually to prove that, okay, the Lord is personal. So you see that here, that's why, like, Krishna Prabhupada so emphatically here, like, explained that it is the person, the Supreme Person of Godhead is a person nonetheless, right? It's not just a mere, the Brahma Jyoti is there, the effulgence is there, it's coming from him. Yes, we are not saying that the Brahma Jyoti is not there, it's there, but that it is a part of it. It's not the Lord himself, it is a part of it. Like, again, that example that we read, like, the sunlight, the sun disk, and the sun, the planet itself, it's three different features. If you just, like, just take the outer feature and just seeing that that is the God itself, it's not going to, it is like your knowledge is not the full knowledge. So it's very important to understand the personal feature, right, of the Lord, and how that feature is actually out of this material. and it is actually outside of our understanding. So let's just see the last paragraph in this verse. So Brahmaji also accepted the same truth when he was instructing Narada. He said, Soyam te vitas tata bhagavan vishwa bhavana. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.7.15. There is no other cause of all causes than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Therefore, the verse Aham Eva never indicates anything other than Supreme Lord, and one should therefore follow the path of Brahma Sampradaya, or the path from Brahmaji to Narada to Vyasadeva, etc., and make it a point in life to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, or Lord Krishna. This very confidential instruction to the pure devotees of the Lord was also given to Arjuna and to Brahma in the beginning of the creation. The demigods like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are undoubtedly different forms of the Lord for execution of different functions. The different elemental ingredients of material creation, as well as the multifarious energies, also may be of the same personality of Godhead. But the root of all of them is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One should be attached to the root of everything rather than bewildered by the branches and leaves. This is the instruction given in this verse. So that's why it's it's so wonderful that Prabhupada said, I mean, just make sure that if you put if Krishna gave us Krishna all gave us our free will, right? And we have the independence that where we should spend our time, how we should lead our life. Krishna didn't made us robot that okay, no, you have to be a devotee and pick up this devotional. You have to go through this Krishna consciousness. No, he gave us free will. So even after taking up this devotional life, this every point that it's shown us that the direction, that which direction we should go. It's not like that you come to this life and then it's a layer by layer that we have to progress. And ultimately it says that we have to make sure watering the roots. Because if we don't these Vedas, these Puranas, these Upanishads, they have so many different branches and so many different different ways of understanding, that if we simply if we just go through that, we will be just lost. We will be lost, and it's so vast, it's not possible. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying that Supreme Personality of the Godhead, he is the root of everything. So and we know that when something is the root, we have to for a plant, the most important thing is to watering the roots. Even though if you don't do anything with the leaves or the flowers or the fruits, whatever, if you water the roots, the plant will flourish. So similarly, in our spiritual life, if we concentrate, if we concentrate on the very this very important point, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are Krishna's eternal servant, and then that is the understanding, and how we maintain it is by doing service, is serving the Lord and Lord's devotees. If these basic principles are there, then we will be always in that spiritual path. It will not be it will be very hard. It will be very hard for us then to get away of this path. There will be nothing which will take us away. So that's why, just to summarize that what we have done today is from this verse, the first verse of the Chatursloki Bhagavatam. We understood that the Chatursloki is actually the summary of that whole scripture. So this one is the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, like how we have in Bhagavad Gita 10.8 to 11, which is those verses are the summary of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So in this verse, the main thing, the context is Krishna was, Krishna is, and Krishna will always be there. And Krishna is a person. Krishna, like we have the three features of Krishna, that Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And we are, we are devoted ourselves to actually the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. We are here to serve the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, rather than the Brahman or the Paramatma feature. And when we surrender ourselves, we actually we perform devotional duties with full dedication and sincerity, and that actually converts the knowledge into the theoretical knowledge to applied knowledge, and that actually gives us this understanding that God is absolute and transcendental. Then how God's transcendent the transcendence related to this world, like with this material world, in terms of ignorance and misery. Like in this, obviously, we know that this world is Dukhalam, Ashashvatam Dukhalam. So, how the transcendence of the Lord is connected with this world, that we are going to discuss in our next verse. So, thank you all for joining today. It has been really wonderful experience, specifically to go through these verses, and they are and obviously Srila Prabhupada's purpose is so wonderful and so clear that if we spend time on these verses, main verses of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they actually give us the full content and context of these wonderful scriptures. So we will
to sustain forever, it is gonna take a good amount of time for it to become a part of our value system, part of our culture. If you
Hare Krishna.